So I pressed play on this movie for two reasons. Number one, it's got a really cool poster. Kind of reminds me of some Italian 1970s, 1980s cinema. So instantly very attracted to that poster. Second, and most importantly, Fairuza Balk's name was on the poster. Yes, it looked like an and Fairuza Balk situation here, so that could be 2 minutes, who knows. I will tell you, for any Fairuza Balk fans that are wanting to watch this purely for her, she's in it 5 minutes, maybe 7. I think 10 would be too high, so I'll kind of just come into the middle of that and say 7 minutes. And her character is fine. Now, this is about two couples who rent this really nice place together. They're partying. There's some relationship drama between the two. Of course, you've got the asshole character. You've got the quote-unquote slutty character. I hate calling people slutty because you're promiscuous and that's your choice and it's your body. And as long as you're having a good time, I don't see why that's... I always take the word slutty as a negative connotation. And it's like, that's not slutty. What's slutty is like stealing someone's lover or stealing someone's boyfriend on purpose multiple times. Like, that's a fucking whore thing to do. Like, you want to go out and sleep with whoever you want, that's your own business. That's nobody's business, and nobody should shit on you for that. But if you're using it for terrible things, then you might be a slut. Anyways, moving on from that, and then you've got the relationship, the couple of the normal people, and there's deeper rooted issues between them. And that plays out throughout the movie, and they do focus on that a good amount. This movie, for me, is okay. And I feel like one of the problems it had was it really had an identity crisis. Like, the story, and I'm all about twists and turns. I'm all about things changing paces and stuff like that. But it starts off and you think, okay, this is the kind of movie it's going to be. Then it veers, and you're like, oh, I think this is where it's going to go. And then it takes another turn, and it's like, okay, I guess we're heading this way. And then something else happens, and you're like, okay, I guess we're heading this way. But it's not in a good way. It feels very convoluted and convenient. Like, the things that are happening, it's just one after the other, and you're like, okay, this is getting to be too much. Like, this happened, and this happened, and it just so happened that this happened, and this happened. And I know movies can do that. Movies are filled with coincidences. Movies are supposed to be these grand, ridiculous scenarios that would never really happen in real life. Although we always do say truth is stranger than fiction, because unless it actually happens like that, most people wouldn't believe it. But this is one of those scenarios where I sat there and was just like, okay, wait, what? Who's this again? And why? What's happening with that? And now this happened? Oh my God, okay, this is out of control, over the top. And, the characters felt, there was some dramatic sequences between the main couple in this. And I thought that played well. I thought that they acted it pretty well. But it just seemed very misplaced timing-wise in the story. Like, they go to break up and admit things in a very inopportune moment that kind of took me out of it. Like, I looked at the scene detached from the film and went, yeah, okay, I can see this scene. Like, the dialogue seems right. The guy's performance, he's kind of bearing his soul and letting it all hang out, and she's having her emotional moment, whatever. But then I insert it back into it contextually. Like, I look at the context surrounding it, and I'm like, should this scene be here? Like, should this scene be after this? I feel like this would be so important, that this would be so dramatic, that this scene would not be happening right now. Like, they would not care about this moment, right? Like, their head would not be in that space to even be discussing such a thing. It goes so quickly and seamlessly to that next moment that you're like, there's no time to adapt. There's no time to accept the situation. There's no time for things to flesh themselves out to where you're like, okay, they've dealt with it. They've moved past this. It's stuff like that. It feels very disjointed. Like, it was almost like they were writing the script as they were going along. Like, all right, and then we'll do this twist. No, how about we take it this way? And how about we take it this way? Like, it didn't feel like it actually had an end game to it. And they just kind of flew by the seat of their pants. And at the end, they wrapped it up and were like, okay, there you go. And it was like, wasn't that wild? Wasn't that twisty and turny? And it's like, yeah, but too much. So that was my thoughts on the movie. At the end of the day with this film, it was okay. It just, I liked the music. There was some artistic choices that I quite enjoyed. Like, there's some good music and some good shot selections, especially towards the end where it feels really well crafted and as I said, artistic. But the rest of the movie feels very generic soap opera-y. So, like, it tried to throw in some I'm not really sure, like, if I would say Italian, maybe some Italian vibes, Italian, like 70s Italian, and that would fit the poster. But some of the stuff towards the end, I did think that was cool. And there was a couple gore gags that were decent. One involving an eyeball, very Fulci of them. So as I said, I think the Italian inspiration is there, but it's like too little too late. It comes so late in the movie that while it was kind of pumping, like while there was like chase sequences and stuff, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But they had already kind of lost me with how ridiculous things were getting and how disjointed things felt and how silly decisions characters were making were in the moment of like, okay, let's talk about our relationship problems right now. Let's have a breakup right now. Like, after this ridiculously fucking chaotic thing just happened. It's like, what? No way you would be talking about this right now. So anyways, I'm going to stop harping on that. And yeah, so this is on, I've been watching so many movies. I've watched like, I think 11 or 12 movies in the last like 24 hours. So, and they've all been on Hulu, Amazon, Netflix. Hulu, Amazon. This one's on Hulu, yes. And it's also called Hell is Where the Home Is. That was the alternate title for the film. So if you go on Just Watch, the app where you can look up where movies are streaming, it's actually under the title Hell is Where the Home Is, but it'll come up even if you type in Trespassers. So, but when you go on Hulu, it's funny because it shows it as that, and then when you go on Hulu, it's actually labeled as Trespassers. So very odd. Anyways, not one to rush to, in my opinion. Adios.